Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm your host, Rob Younts, and thank you for tuning back into the CaneCast Show. If today's your first episode, you're in for a treat. If you've been with us before, we really appreciate you coming back. Either way, today's guest hits absolute tanks. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask a favor of you to help us grow the show. How can you do that? Well, first, just give us a like. Smash that like button. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast host, give us a like. 2, drop us a comment to let us know what you like or you don't like about the show. 3, help us grow the community by subscribing. This lets others know that the CaneCast Show is legit. 4, show us some love with a review. Tell us in your own words. 5, share this podcast or this YouTube video. Send this to your friends and enemies who are missing baseball right now. Everybody can use a good baseball fix. Today, we are talking to one of the top prospects in baseball. He's a Canes alum and was a 10th overall pick in the 2017 draft. Baseball America ranked him as high as the number 3 baseball prospect this year. He has all 5 tools and the coveted 6th tool of being an incredible human being. He makes a difference on and off the field. Of course, I'm talking about Jo Adell. In this episode, Joe talks about his time with the Canes as well as his fight to be considered more than just a 95-mile-an-hour pitcher when he was a teenager. This was just a few years ago. So, let's be like Joe and hammer that outside fastball over the fence.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob Younts here. Got my co-host, Jeff Petty, and we've got an awesome guest today, man. We've got a guy who played with the Canes, one of the top prospects in all of baseball, and probably one of the top human beings you're ever going to run into. Jordan Adell, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Hey, man. So,
actually, it's Jo Adell.
Jo Adell. Excuse me.
He called me by my government. What's that about?
He doesn't like it when people call him Jordan. Every time I call him Jordan, he corrects
Mom
me.
doesn't even do that.
That's how you know the government's listening to this, too. They're going to track you down. Joe, man, it's awesome to have you. Take us through your baseball journey. Give our listeners and our viewers a little bit of background on you so they know kind of know who you are, where you're from.
No doubt. So, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I got drafted in 17, played with the Canes growing up. And, I was believe it or not, I was a pitcher before I was actually an outfielder. So it was kind of crazy how that whole thing worked out. I was playing with the team growing up right up the road that didn't want to let me hit. It was one of those things where, I had a really good arm for my age, and they were like, we want you to pitch, and that's it. They didn't want to explore, the option of me being able to hit and show skills in the outfield. So I was limited. I limited part of my summer season just being a pitcher, and it frustrated me. I was like, and this team was pretty good. This was a team that was nationally recognized, but it was one of those things where, I knew I wanted to hit. I knew I wanted to be an outfielder, and I worked at it. I worked hard at it. And wasn't given the opportunities. So, when the Canes came by, when I was around 14, 15 years old, they were like, hey, look, we want you to do it all, and Jeff came in and was open for all options. It was like, look, you're going to hit on my team. You're going to be able to play on my team. And that's really where my baseball career kind of took off at that point, because I was given the at-bats. I was, playing the best competition in the country, for my age group. And it kind of allowed me to, take off and turn into, the player that I am today. Just being able to have opportunities to face elite level teams and pitching and play in those games. Obviously flying through the system right now with the Angels, part of that has to do with just my ability to just adapt and take advantage of those opportunities that I was given. Growing up, and I continued to do that throughout,
Right.
summer ball all the way through when I got drafted, and then through the minor leagues so far.
Right. So Jeff, when you found Joe and he came to us, I remember him coming up, and the arm talent was definitely there. He was special. It was just really easy out of the hand. Velocity was really easy. I know Greg Connor and I had talked back then about, bat, and man, when he squared it up, it was really good. But as an early hitter, he did have some holes in his swing. What did you see, Jeff? What did you see when Jordan joined us?
Yeah, so I mean, there was a lot of buzz. He came in at 15 years old, and I was up with our 17-year-olds. There was a lot of buzz around him, and yeah, I mean, the arm was a big tool. I mean, it was upper 90s, I think, as a 15-year-old. But I remember getting a call from Jamie Evans, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And Jamie was down with those kids for some reason. I don't know. I get the years jumbled up, but he wasn't with me. He was down with your group, Joe.
Yeah, he was working with us that year.
Called me.
Was it the
He
15s?
said there's a
Those
kid.
15s or the 16s?
Yeah, he called me and said there's a kid named Jo Adell, and he's not going to be a pitcher. He's going to be a first-round outfielder. And at the time, like, Joe was not – I think you were playing not every day as an outfielder, like early on.
No, I was playing. So it was kind of limited because of I would pitch some days. So those days
then
when
we
I was
had to
coming
rest
in
your arm
to
and
relief.
put you back out in the outfield, so you might
Right.
DH type of thing.
Right.
But to your point, it was the first time in your life. Obviously, you were playing for your high school, or whatever, but in an elite travel baseball, you were given the consistent at bats, and you had to work through that because we're facing really good competition.
Good arms, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but he really adjusted quickly, obviously, because of the athletic ability. And it was very clear that this kid's going to be a prospect as a hitter. Obviously, the pitching would have worked out too if that's the route that he would have so chose, but it just made sense to go the direction with the bat. And by the time he got to me and played for me consistently when he was 17, it'd be nothing for us to play on a weekend, play 6 games, and Joe would hit 5 home runs in a weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
He missed some, but with the velocity and the swing and stuff like that, you're going to swing and miss some. But really turned himself into an elite level hitter, especially his senior year, the fall of his senior year when we were rolling into Jupiter. I think he led our team in hitting. A lot of singles. The knock was he couldn't go the other way, stuff like that. But he was hitting doubles the other way, hitting off speed. He really showed scouts because here's his first-round talent, and if anybody's ever been to Jupiter, the scouts were just piled up on us to watch.
The scouts are not hiding.
No, yeah. Right-handed hitter. So if we're in the first base dugout, down the first base line, it was just hundreds of video cameras videoing every swing he took in Jupiter, and he definitely showed. If I talked to one guy, I talked to 100. Can he hit the ball the other way? Can he hit off speed? Is he just a dead fastball hitter? I'm like, yeah, he can really use the whole field. He's got power to both fields. He can adjust off speed. And he had a show in Jupiter that your senior year, just showing that you could do all those things. And you really turned yourself into an elite level hitter before you graduated high school.
Well, that was the neat thing for me is watching him, seeing him when he was 14, 15 and coming off of, he was with his previous team, he was pitcher only, and seeing where the holes were in his swing, but watching the progression, watching those holes close and turn into, you don't throw me baseballs there because I'll lose them. That was the really, really cool thing. And I remember seeing a ball he hit at, I think it was 16 and under Worldwood bat, where, as soon as it was hit, everybody just went silent. Like just watching it fly, it was like, oh my gosh, it was up in the light poles and yeah. And it was neat to see that progression, Joe. So you put in a lot of work there. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about your, where your thought process was and what you're trying to do to show everybody that, hey, I'm not just a PO.
Well, I think one of the big things that, for me, I always knew that I had elite level hand speed. That was one of the things that, I knew at a young age. When me and my dad first started, hitting baseballs in the backyard when I was 4 or 5 years old, he wouldn't take it any other way. It was swing hard. Like, you're going to swing hard. You're going to swing with intent. And that was one of the things that I always took with me. Now, the refining part of it, learning how to control that, took time. But for me, I was not going to sacrifice my athleticism, my bat speed, any of that because of, a strikeout. a strikeout or two at, 15, 16 years old. I just wasn't. I was going to put off the best swing that I could and refine it from there. And I think the thing that's really helped me from that point, transitioning into a hitter, going into pro ball, is understanding, how my athleticism plays in my swing. I grew up in Kentucky. This isn't like, Florida or, Southern California. I mean, I had to figure this out. Me and my dad, we had to figure this out growing up, because me being the type of athlete I am, I'm 6'4", 2. It's hard, and I really had to crack down and figure out, okay, how does my swing feel? Is this comfortable? How do I make it better? Getting shorter to the ball. Having a 6'6" wingspan, it's hard to get short to the ball, so those are things that I had to figure out. But then the more that I worked at it, the more I understood, man, like, it's time to put the glove down, on the mound. It's time to step off the mound. Like, I love this. Like, I love figuring out hitting, figuring out what my body's doing, how things are connected. Like, I loved it. I loved the whole process of breaking the swing down. And once I started becoming more of a student of hitting, as much as I was like the athlete doing it, that's when things started to come together for me. And that's when I really started, taking real life at bats and knowing what's going on, knowing the situation.
Right. So high school, senior year, I told Jeff, this is the one question I want to ask you. I know, kind of stats run together and things like that. How many home runs did you hit your senior year?
25.
Why did they pitch to you? What were they thinking?
Who'd you have hitting behind you?
I'm telling you right now, it was an unreal year. And the reason why I think that I hit that many home runs and played that well my senior year had to do with the fact that I had the Jupiter experience, and I kind of I didn't feel any pressure. I knew that, if I didn't get drafted where I wanted to, or things didn't work out, I can go to college right up the road. Louisville has a great staff up there with Coach Mack and everybody. I knew that was my backup plan if things didn't go well. And I wasn't really concerned about, my draft status, every time I went out and played a high school game. So I think that let me relax a little bit. And then, like Jeff was talking about earlier, right field's always been my hot spot. And, guys were throwing off speed away in my senior year, so being able to take the ball the other way and learning how to do that, and, not trying to pull everything, get pull happy, it really just allowed me to work that side of the field. And I'm pretty sure that most of the home runs were right field. I don't think that I pulled a whole lot of baseballs my senior year. I mean, yeah, the whole entire time it was right center for sure.
Yeah, everything looked middle and away, that I saw, saw balls flying all over that park. A lot of scouts there, like Jeff mentioned. So going into the draft, you finish up your high school year, get picked by the Angels. How, tell me a little bit about that. How was the transition into pro ball and stuff like that?
Oh, it was exciting, man. It was pretty exciting. It's funny because I got drafted by the Angels, and I'll tell you a funny story. So I went to a pre-draft workout in LA. So this was, we had all the top guys in Southern California at the time, my senior year, that were going to get drafted. And I showed up, and I actually showed up late. My flight got in late. I showed up late, and I'm telling you right now, I didn't have baseball pants. So I had no pants. And so I'm looking on the field because I just didn't think about that. And everybody has their baseball pants on, tucked in, ready to go. And here comes Joe from Kentucky, and he hops out of the taxi, and he's got shorts on. You know what I mean? And then at the time, Mike Trout was hurt. So he had a thumb injury. So he slid into a bag and injured his thumb. And he was there. So he was there scouting the players with the front office executives. So I'm on the field, and I see all the guys I remember from the circuit, pants and all, looking at me like, what are you doing? And then I got Mike Trout and the GM sitting right behind home plate. So I'm like, I got to have some type of workout for these guys to even consider me, right? Like, I'm here and I'm shorts. What are you doing? This is a baseball field. You're wearing shorts, And so as the workout went on, I did everything that I needed to do, and I got picked. I started getting phone calls. Their guys started showing up more often to the high school games. They were really, really interested. And yeah, I got picked, and the whole experience was just unbelievable. You know, just being drafted and knowing that, you know, Trout was a part of that process of, you know, picking players, and it's just been unreal ever since. You know, having him as somebody to look up to. I mean, it's just unreal being able to have the best player in the game who plays your position to be able to help guide you through. So it's been crazy.
So have you talked to him about that? Does he remember that, you showing up in shorts?
No, I don't think I want to bring up that type of conversation. Yeah, I think we're past that. Hopefully we're past that.
Yeah, you've done real well all the way through. What's a memorable stop for you so far? You know, short of big league spring training, what's one of the stops along the way that you've really enjoyed? And you know, you obviously played well, but you know, one of the stops in your journey so far.
Well, definitely got to say, you know, playing in Japan with Team USA last fall. I mean, that experience was just something else. You know, I mean, it is baseball to win. You know, it's not about any individual person. It's about how do we win, and just that whole experience and seeing how electric the crowds are. You know, sold out games every day. The Tokyo Dome is, you know, such a legendary park already. You know, being in it and having it full when you're playing Japan, you know, and taking the field, and then being able to homer in that game it was just unreal. It was just an unreal experience to be able to, you know, be a part of that. Beating the Dominican and Mexico to advance. Man, it was a great end to my year last year. As crazy as my years get, you know, a couple of years ago when I went from low A to double A, I thought that was about as crazy as it got.
Right.
You know what I mean? And having to battle the injury in 19 and then having to come back, go to double A, make it to triple A, and then play fall league and Team USA all in the same year. I mean,
it's a good year.
It's crazy. It's crazy, right? It's nuts.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
love it.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your injury and how you overcame that. And because it's hard enough competing on a daily basis and to have a setback, you know, a lot of guys come back and it takes a little bit away from them. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how you were able to do that.
Yeah, so it was my first big league spring training. We were about halfway through, and I pulled a hamstring and sprained an ankle. And rounding second base, we were playing the Cubs, and you know, I remember I fell down like a deer trying to walk, you know, for the first time out there at second base, and it was packed. I mean, this was a noon game on a Saturday at Sloan Park at the Cubs place. So this game, and we had Bryant and all those guys in. So this game was, I mean, it was packed, you know, and all you could hear was, oh, you know, from everybody in the crowd. Right. But, you know, I never really put my head down. I think the first week was tough just because I was so used to, you know, always being moving on the go, and I had to be real stationary, you know, had to go and wait, couldn't really do a whole lot rehab wise yet. And once I started to get into rehab, I started to, you know, feel better about things. You know, I never really got in the dumps, but I was real positive at that point, being able to get on, you know, the Ultra G treadmill and being able to run and do all those sorts of things. But yeah, it's tough. You know, you're out for a month and a half. I think it was a month and a half or maybe a little bit longer. But I got to give credit to all the guys over there at our facility for just getting me back on my feet and getting me at 100%. You know, there was probably a couple weeks before I left, I was like, yo, send me. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I feel great, you know? And they were like, no, like, we have these marks before you're ready to leave, before you can go and play. And as much as I was ready to leave, you know, I'm glad that they kept me, you know, and let me, you know, take those extra 2 weeks to just make sure everything's 100%, you know, play in those games, simulated games, to make sure that I'm ready to go. And when I came back to Double A, I was ready to go. I mean, I had the engines cooking, and I was not worried about any type of injuries. So, but it's tough.
You're pretty hot when you came back, right? I mean, you were swinging it pretty good.
I was swinging it really well, you know, and that's why I hit it where they ain't.
That's right. So So you were up as a invite this year for spring training. How was that going before the shutdown?
Man, I'm telling you what, Joe Madden, man, he's about as good as they come. I mean, this guy's awesome. You know, parks his RV out there behind right field, you know, comes in with his shades on, has all these ideas, just a great guy. You know, he's a mix between old school and new school. And it's just really cool, you know, to see him and how he goes about his practices and his ideas. He's been great. He's been great. Really, really good with the young guys, myself included, in camp. And it was a ball, man. We had so much fun.
That's interesting. So what kind of things, you know, Jeff and I are always intrigued, you know, hearing about neat things coaches and managers do. You know, what are some of the things that you might be able to talk about on here that he's been able to do, and some things that stood out about him?
No doubt. I mean, I think one of the first things from the mental side is Joe always has quotes. You know, he's a big reader, you know, so he always has a quote, you know, quote of the day. He actually made this really cool wall in our clubhouse called the Identity Wall, where he had an artist come in and spray graffiti on the wall about, you know, some of the things we want to be known as, what's our identity as a team. So he's really big on that, you know, team camaraderie, and just listening to him talk. I mean, he knows everything there is to know about winning. And when, you know, he talks about, hey, you know, we can be as good as we want to be, you know, individually, but until we have like our identity, until we know what team we want to be, who we all want to be together, you know, we can't do anything. We can't go anywhere. You know, as much talent, we can have as much talent as anyone, you know, but until you know who you want to be, what your identity is as a team, you're stuck. And I think he did a really good job of explaining that and kind of just giving us motivation, you know, through quotes, through things he's read, experiences he's had. And then on the baseball side, he's really brought back kind of the old school approach of, you know, small ball. I think during spring training, we bunted more than I've seen since I got drafted or even before from the Angels. You know, laying down bunts in situations, guys getting it down and being excited about getting a bunt down. Just those things, moving runners, hitting the other way, he's huge on, you know, and so that just, you know, that's right up my alley because that's my approach anyway. So he's really done a good job of bringing the team together and taking it back a little bit. You know, I think baseball, we get sometimes a little bit too involved in kind of the new metrics and what these numbers read and what this is. And I think Joe's done a really good job of taking a step back and saying, look, this, at the end of the day, it's baseball. You know, we have to do the small things, you know, runner on second base, you know, less than 2 outs, right? Bunt down, get the bunt down, you know, stuff like that. And I think it's been really cool to see that play out. I think this year has been really more competitive spring training games because that's how he wants to play. He wants to be competitive all the time. So
that's good. That reminds me of that guy over there, Jeff. How many times did you make Jordan bunt? Do you remember that? Did you ever give him the bunt side, or did you just let him swing away?
I don't recall making him bunt ever, but we are a bunt team. Joe knows that. We're a small ball type team. We're do whatever it takes to win type team. I think I've heard him make comments about him appreciating that, like that we actually cared about winning. And but I don't recall. Maybe Joe laid a bunt down, but I don't know if I ever did ask you to bunt. If the situation called for it, I asked for it.
No, it's funny, man. I laid a bunt down to AZL 3 years ago, and I still haven't heard the end of that. But I'm telling you right now, I do work on it, and they make me work on it. I have early work bunting. It's part of it. They make you do it. You know, it's you know, you take pride in doing it, getting a bunt down. You know, can you do it? Because the situation, at the end of the day, anybody can be in a situation where it's called for. And I think that's the thing that I started to learn was that, because coming up through, it was, you know, you get the bunt sign and I'd be like, what? You know, like, let's go again. What do we got? You know, but now I'm starting to understand that there's situations that call for it. You know, at the big league level, you got to win games. And if you have a lineup full of guys and most of them can bunt, if not all, it's not bad. You know, It's not bad.
You know, and it's neat to see, you know, Jeff's philosophy of making sure we win and it goes throughout the organization. And also having those great relationships with players. You know, I saw that you came back, was it a couple years ago, Jeff, in Jupiter? Jordan had Jordan in to talk. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, Jeff. Tell me what you heard from him and how your team took it.
Well, I mean, he was just removed from being a first-round pick a year or so ago from that, and he's somebody that the kids looked up to for sure. And for him to walk in the room and tell them, hey, you know, this is about everybody in the room, not yourself. And this is where I was, you know, a year ago or so. And look where I am now. And I took this seriously, and I was about our team and our organization, and it wasn't all about me. And to hear him say that to our kids definitely resonated with them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, how was it coming back as an alum and being on the other side of that and being able to deliver a message to the team?
Well, all I'm saying is the stuff gets cooler every year.
Yeah.
I saw the side of the bus. I was like, what? I was taking videos
right?
the whole time. I'm like, this is sick. I was like, Jeff still doesn't play around. No, it was good, man. I think at the end of the day, like the message is, man, like too many times is summer ball not about winning. And I can't understand why. I mean, even with, you know, teams I played for before I was even with the Canes, you know, there was just a sense of just wanting to win. You know what I mean? And I feel like as the years went on, some clubs started to lose, you know, the idea of winning. Some players, you know, it was more about, hey, let me show up here and get some numbers, you know, into, you know, whatever source, and let me get out. Let's see if I can, you know, hit 96 and then leave, you know. And for me, man, that just wasn't cutting it. And I think it's just helped me be more of a competitor. You know, I was telling the guys when I was there that, hey, this opportunity to play a competitive, want to win baseball during the summer with the best players in the country, like this is what you want. You know, anybody can go to a showcase and then go home for a couple of weeks. You know, this is Canes baseball. Like, we're here to win. We're here to put teams away. We're here to put our name at the top of the list. And that was just really cool because we know how the 17U circuit can get. I mean, it's nuts. Guys worrying about getting scouted. That took some of that anxiety, I think, away from me, was playing on a team that was concerned about winning, you know, that wanted to win. It was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, we get to come in here and try to win a ball game and try to win a tournament every single time. We expect to win. It's not try. We expect to win. And having that as the only goal, you forget about golf carts, who's sitting out there, who's watching, because you want to win.
That's a great way to put it. I mean, yeah, you look up and your summer and fall has passed and you've won 40 ball games and lost 4, and you cared about that process and something bigger than yourself. And you look up at the end of that and all the scouting and all the stuff, you know, kind of takes care of itself. It's like it takes care of itself. Focus on the team goals and your personal goals will follow.
Yeah, and I think the scouts know. The scouts can see it because at the end of the day, the teams have to win. Like I said, the clubs want to win ball games, so they want guys that know how to win. I mean, the teams that win the World Series aren't always the best teams. They just want to win more sometimes. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's just a different energy level with certain teams and certain guys and the want to win. And I think, you know, as far as scouting goes, that would be something I would look for if I was a scout. Was like, hey, like, how bad does this guy look like he wants it? You know what I mean? Is he getting after it? Is he, you know, excited about it? Does he want to win? How excited is he about winning? You know, that's huge.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I have several scouts with different organizations, and I won't mention those organizations or the names of those scouts.
All right.
But over the years, we're talking 14 years now, they know that if they can look out in the field, we keep talking about Jupiter. Well, Jupiter's kind of survival of the fittest. If you're in the lineup for our top team at that point in the year, you've kind of weathered our storm. You made it through the whole year. and you solidified yourself as one of those 9 guys, or if you're one of the 13 guys to toe the rubber for us, you've kind of solidified yourself as a guy. You've kind of gone through our system, so to speak. And a lot of scouts know that to make it through that system, you have to be a certain type of guy, not necessarily talent, but a certain type of makeup. And that really means a lot to scouts to see that you can weather that as a 17-year-old. You know, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Oh yeah.
That's another reason why there's so many eyeballs on us, because it's kind of tried and true over the years. The guys that are out there on the field at the end of the year, there's something to them as people. Like, it's not necessarily, like you just said it. You can't script this stuff. You just said it. It's not always the best players or even the best teams. It can just be the best group of guys headed in the same direction.
Well, and even now, Joe's talking about, he's expected to get bunts down, and he's actually working on it. I mean, that's, making that transition from an amateur player to a pro player. They want to make sure that you have that desire, that you have that intrinsic and that internal drive to be great at whatever you do, whether it's your ass to bunt, whether you're a slap, hit and run type of guy, whether you're a base stealer. I mean, I know there's not much of that around today. Everybody's, launching balls and stuff like that. But for you to be able to go in and hone your craft and get better at bunting of all things, I mean, just shows that you've got what they're looking for. I mean, it's just what it is.
No doubt.
I have all the confidence in the world, if we were to rewind it and, you were in Jupiter and Jeff did ask you to put a bunt down, that you would get it down. I mean, that's just what great players do. They do their job. And when you're in a lineup of a bunch of great players, a bunch of great dudes, it does take the pressure off you, as you mentioned. You don't have to go and carry the team. You just have to do your job. And you have to take pride in your job. And that's something that as I've watched you progress over the years, that's one of the things, obvious, the talent's there. I mean, everybody knows that. But the focus that you've given to every detail of your baseball journey has been really impressive, Joe.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a grind. There's certain things that, I don't necessarily want to work on, if we're being honest. I mean, 7 a.m. in the morning, isn't really ideal for bunting, if you were going to ask me. But that's just some of the things that I know that if I'm in the situation, and it's serious, and I need to do my job, that I've worked on it. I've worked on that part, that I've tried to figure out, how to get better at some of the things, because at the end of the day, having a strong arm, being able to hit for power, being fast, all those things are great. And I have all of them, but you got to get it to where it plays in a game every day. It's something that you can do every day, something that you can, hone your craft to be productive. And I think that, practicing the little things, as it may sound, is really what helped me, is helped me all the way through. And it's important, and it's tough, and it's not fun, but it's the stuff that you're going to need. You're going to need to, get a bunt down at some point. It is what it is.
Right. Especially as a young guy trying to make the team and fit in with your teammates and things like that. I mean, you want them to count on you. So that's super important. So yeah, I know, you're very tied into your Louisville community. I know you go back there every off season. I know you do a lot of work there. Tell me a little bit about, what you've got going on, because I see a lot of great things that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about your foundation and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure. So I started my foundation a couple of years ago, the Jo Adell Foundation, and I couldn't necessarily think of a certain cause that I wanted to, go after or help. So my foundation is an open-ended foundation. So I basically take ideas from the community, from the greater Louisville area, and decide on, which projects that I want to do around the area. So we've done all sorts of things over the past couple of years. From a turkey drive, I do my turkey drive every single year. We've ran the baseball camp. Things got kind of weird this past year because of availability and field stuff. I've done haircuts. Kids that can't afford to get haircuts actually have a barber that comes and sets up shop right in the schools to cut kids' hair. I've done a lot of different things. And the academic challenge was another one. I did a challenge with the school system where we selected a certain group of kids to come up with service project ideas and rewarded those who had the best ideas. So I think at the end of the day, I couldn't settle on one thing. I think we need help all around, everywhere, and whatever needs helping, I want to be here for it. And I think that's kind of the idea of my foundation, and what I'm about is I'm not going to stay closed-minded. I'm going to be open-minded about it and help as much as I can.
And that's really cool. I've seen a lot of it over social media. You do a really good job of putting that out there. How can people get involved with the Jo Adell Foundation? Where can they find out more information?
Yes, you can find out more information at joadellfoundation.org. And basically, you can sign up as a volunteer. So you can sign up as somebody who would want to volunteer time or, help with different projects, or you can donate. So basically, one of those two or both, that'd be great. So yeah, that's how I've had it set up. And like I said, we're open for all ideas. So you can submit your own ideas, anything that you might think could help the community or anything, we're going to read them. I have a team that will read those and decide, whether or not it would be something that we could go forward with.
That's really cool. Are you getting a lot of ideas? I mean, people throwing a lot of things at you. How's that going?
Right now it's kind of weird with what we got going on with the virus and stuff. But yeah, we've had several great ideas. We've had some ideas about the Humane Society, about some ideas out there and what we could possibly do. But yeah, it's one of those things where we have to look at it from the perspective of what can we actually do and what is, kind of out of our boundaries, as I can say. So, but yeah, I mean, the ideas are flowing in and, there's almost too many ideas to even recall one. But yeah, I mean, it's great. Everybody is seeming like they have their own ideas, their own concerns, and to be able to read them and be able to go, hey, like, I didn't even know that was going on. Like, right. I didn't even know that was a problem. It's kind of cool.
I didn't know about the haircuts. I saw that, and I thought that was really one of the coolest, ideas. I know it makes the kids feel great. I thought that was awesome.
It was a great one. It was a great idea because you think about it, like, a kid that can't get a haircut, can't afford to get a haircut. How about their self-esteem? This might be why they're acting out, in class. Right. They might be feeling a certain type of way because, their hair's all over the place. So to be able to help that kid out, can change the way they think about themselves.
I appreciate you taking care of Jeff and I on that. That was awfully nice.
Hey, you guys seem to have it taken care of. You guys got a self-grooming kit.
Struggling.
So, you know what? One of the things about your foundation I was most impressed with, Joe, was that how quickly you got it up and running and how quickly you started making a difference. There's a lot of guys that will talk about it and conceptualize it and just kind of float it out there. But you actually were boots on the ground, getting things going, really, really quickly. And, that's super impressive. And it speaks to the type of person you are and how you want to make a difference in your community. Again, don't want to heap too much praise on you, but it really was pretty cool to see that mobilize really, really quickly.
Yeah, and we had some talks about that. Most guys, like you were saying, wait till obviously, major league service a couple of years in, if not more, before they attempt to do something like this. And for me, I knew that I could take care of some things around here now. I was like, hey, look, I have the resources for it. We can take care of some issues now. And then before you know it, we have 6-7 events that we run throughout the year that we do.
Yeah.
So it just kind of bloomed from there, because at first it was kind of like, oh, I want to set it up. I want to do a couple projects to help out. And then before you know it, we have 7 projects or so that we're working on that go well, that go smoothly. So that's pretty awesome.
That's really cool. It's good to see you give it back. So you touched on, the shutdown and the quarantining and the social distancing and all that good stuff. What are you doing? We kind of touched on it a little bit before with your caveman type workouts. But what are you doing, man? How are you trying to stay ready and fit and all that good stuff?
Well, I'm telling you right now, I work out with my sister every day. She's about as good a shape as anybody I know.
She's a beast.
And she's a beast. She's a beast, man. So we actually live on a golf course. So she takes me up to those hills on the golf course, and like par 4 or whatever. And we run up those hills, and she's kicking my butt every day on them. Every day. I'm like, how do you do this? We actually run there, which is about a mile, do the hills, do about 5 to 7 of those hills. And I'm talking, it's straight up. You have to sprint up the hill. It's huge. And then we run back, and, she's a solid, 2 minutes in front of me on the way back. But that's totally different thing. She's a beast though. And being able to just have her and her motivating me through it, and just having somebody to work out with, I guess, and stay in shape. So she's been huge for me during this time so far.
Are you hitting?
What's that?
Finding a way to hit?
Yeah, I've set up a little tee and net right under the deck downstairs. So I got a little batting set up down there. So
you're hitting off a tee right now. That's it.
Yeah, really hitting off the tee right now.
No
just
pitching
because.
machine.
No, and the reason why is because I just want to make sure that the swing is just intact, and I don't really need to worry about the velocity, because it's going to be months before I'm even going to see anything, coming over the plate. So I'm kind of just trying to make sure everything's connected and I feel good, and just it kind of gives me a little bit of a fresh reminder, I guess, of getting on the tee and being able to just take 25, 30 a day. Just kind of getting that feel, making sure everything's there, because you guys know how it gets. I mean, your swing can go in a matter of days, without swinging it. So trying to stay ready in that regard.
Do you use any technology? Are you videotaping, anything like that? Is there anything that you guys are using, I guess, is the Angels in general? And the reason I ask is we've rolled out blast motion to all of our players. So I don't know if you know that.
That's so funny that you said that, because I used blast motion for the first time yesterday.
Okay. How do you like it?
I actually loved it, to be honest. And I'm telling you why. So a lot of the times, guys, I think, get worried about, the launch angle stuff is great. And it's, it's what it is. But at the end of the day, we have to get on plane with the baseball. So if you want to make good contact, and this is how I've always viewed it, I have to get on plane with the pitch, and then I have to have my bat to be able to hit the pitch the way I want to. So the thing I really like about blast motion is it makes sure, it was the first time that I used the extra numbers when I got set up on it, and it's really cool because it'll give you 4 or 5 green check marks, and then it'll give you a red one. And basically what it's doing is letting you know how connected your swing is. And I think that's the thing that's most important in all this, is we can gear up, we can load up to kill a baseball. But if we're not connected, if we don't have, if our body parts are out of whack, or if one part's going this way, the other one's going the other way, and we're not connected through the swing, we can't put off our best swing. So I really like that part about it, because that's really been the goal the whole time for me. That's been what I'm working on, is staying connected. How connected can I stay? And that really simplifies everything the more connected you are, because it's like, all right, we're going to make a swing, go, and it's one fluid motion. So I was a really big fan. I really enjoyed it. And, I might need to get me one for myself now during the downtime for sure.
Right. Yeah, we do a lot. Been doing a lot.
That can make that happen.
Yeah.
You said you think you can make that happen?
I said I'm pretty sure you know a few guys that could make that happen.
Yeah, I think I have a few contacts.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah, just a few. Yeah, we've been using that with some of with all of our organization, and dividing it up, the responsibilities in between different coaches. So it's pretty cool, as a player now, when you're on one of our teams, we give you a blast motion so that we can collect that data and help work you through some things. It's kind of evolved a little bit. I know that Jeff used to hold practices and things like that, and he still does that with his team, and it's coming throughout the organization where we're running those practices and giving guys different assignments and things that they can do. So to have that technology is pretty cool. I didn't even know that you just started using it. So it was pretty organic of finding out that you just started using it, which is cool.
I know. I just started using it the other day, but that's great.
Too funny.
I mean, that's great because at the end of the day, like, if your swing's connected, you can do everything you want to be able to do. I mean, that's the reality of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So where you are today, if you went back in time, I've asked this to all the players that have come here, and what kind of things would you tell 15, 14-year-old Jo Adell as he's coming through the Canes organization? What kind of advice would you give yourself looking back on it right now?
For me, honestly, I think I was in the right frame of mind when I was there. But the one thing that I would probably tell myself is just to go out and have a little bit more fun. I think I played a little bit too intense. I was pretty intense out there, wasn't I, Jeff?
That's okay.
I was pretty locked, bro. I mean, you thought that I had a bad day when I was out there.
Yeah, I loved how you went. I loved how you went about your business, man. I do. I loved it then. I love it now. But yeah, I mean, it's easy for you to tell yourself at how old are you now? 22, 21?
I'm gonna be 21 in 6 days. Can you believe it?
Man, I'll have to wish you a happy birthday. Early happy birthday. So it's easy for you to tell yourself at 21 years old what your 15-year-old self to do, right? But you really did. I'll give you credit, man. You went about your business the right way, and man, you're just a dude. You're just a well-rounded dude. I tell you that all the time. I think the most impressive thing is just what kind of person you are. I mean, you got a chance to be a superstar, a Major League Baseball superstar, and you haven't changed a bit. You are just true to who you are. You care about people. You care about helping people. You answer your phone. You're just a good dude. Maybe we owe that to Scott and Nicole Adell. I don't know, but man, just don't change who you are, man. It's just awesome, and it's so rewarding for people like us because you guys carry on, and then the amateurs just keep coming through, and then you're like an anomaly, man. There's not that many of you. Guys go on sometimes and they change, and just don't do that, man. And I remember out by the bus we got eliminated in Jupiter, and we were at the hotel, and my final goodbye with you, man, there were tears in my eyes because, and I usually don't cry when players leave, but I knew then how special of a dude you were, and man, you just carried on and exceeded even any expectations I've had for you.
Man, I appreciate that, man. I love you, Jeff. I love you, Jeff.
Love you, man.
Hey, if I could change something, I'd probably tell old Joe to make sure that Jeff smiles a little bit more. I like that smile.
Yeah. I'm a little serious at times.
Hey, you should see it from across the field coaching against him.
What is it about that? You know what's crazy?
Dude, I look down and I see your face when I'm up to bat and it is the most intimidating face ever. It's like, if you don't do your job, I'm gonna lose it.
Let me ask you this though. Did you really ever feel that pressure? Like, I never put pressure on you.
No.
But I think I got to work on that, because the truth is I am starting to recognize that I am so intense when we're out there because I want us to do so well, and I want y'all to do so well. But I'm not really just solely outcome driven, and I actually really am happy when I'm out there. Right. Like, you would think that I'd smile more because it is like one of the best places on earth, right, to be on a baseball field.
No doubt.
I need to smile a little more. You're right.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing. Hey, just send me a selfie from time to time. Just smile.
Man, yeah. Hey, it's all smiles now when we get together because we're not on a field.
Right.
Man, Joe, so, I agree with Jeff. You've been true to yourself. You've been the same kid. I remember the wiry, super athletic 15-year-old kid when you first came to us. And, man, you know what? It's wonderful to see you haven't changed. You are who you are. And Jeff's mentioned, due to that home life and the family, how big of a role they played in your life as you're growing up? I mean, obviously they were there, but how big of a role do they have right now in your life?
Oh, it's huge. Growing up, that was one of the things that, my mom, dad, everybody, it was, you always stay true to yourself, remember our family name and stay true to who you are, and that's just one of the things that I've taken with me. And really over the past couple of years, just watching my mom and her with her school, she's a middle school principal, and just how she's changed those kids' lives for the better, and just how she's turned that school into something special and something that's exciting for kids to come to is just really cool to watch. And just being in the community and her being, true to who she is and who we are as a family, just is always that constant reminder of, this is who you are, Joe. Stay true to that, and that's, when the foundation piece started, and that's when, all the giving and everything came into place. So it's, I got to give credit to her, but it's my whole family, it's everybody.
No doubt.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have a great family. I know they pushed you a lot when you were younger. Good to see your sisters kicking your butt now, and pushing you through the workouts. Any parting words, any advice you have for maybe some of these Canes kids that are watching right now? And, what can you give them?
I'd say, obviously I talked about this earlier, but play as much as you can. I mean, whenever the opportunity comes that you can play in a game or play in a tournament, especially position players more so, play the game. Like, the more you play, like, the more you start to understand yourself and what makes you successful. That's one of the things, I remember years ago, guys would talk about, well, I'm not going to go play in that tournament because of this, or, I'm not going to do that because, this is going on. And if I go here, then so-and-so. Like, no, just go play the game of baseball. The more you play, you understand it, you're better, you get better, and enjoy it.
Absolutely, man. That's great. And, Joe, you're one of the top prospects in baseball. You are probably one of the top people in baseball as far as a person. We're grateful that you are an alum, and you're an active alum. You do things, you stay in touch, and you know what? It's great to have you part of the Canes family. I know I speak for everybody that you've been involved with in our organization to say thank you. Thank you for doing things the right way. You've got a big fan base all over the country. A lot of guys that are wearing black and gold are rooting for you. So we can't wait to watch you up there in the big leagues full time. And, hopefully you and the family stay safe. You're prepared when when they turn the lights back on. But, man, thanks for jumping on today, and thanks for being just a great human being. I appreciate, everything you do. I'm not from Louisville, but, the fact that you're making a difference there is huge. We need more people in the world like you.
Man, I appreciate that. That's huge. Thank you, guys.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for being on, and we'll have to bring you back on hopefully sometime soon, maybe in the off season. After the season's over, check in on you and do a touch up. But hey, stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye, man. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Big shout out to Joe for getting it done on the CaneCast. Please give him a follow on all social channels at Jordan Adell. That's JORDON Adell. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, subscribe, review, and share us. Give us a follow on social media at CaneCast Show. You can reach out to me on all social channels at Rob Younce or email me directly at robyounce@gmail.com. You can also give Jeff Petty a follow at WJeffPetty on all social media channels. I welcome your feedback as we look to improve the show every single episode. Stay safe, wash your hands, and don't miss that 3-1 fastball.